Hello members, this is group 3. Going to look at the Greek civilization in Sparta and Athens. Uh, in this group, we have the following members. We have Silas Kipkemboi, we have Rono Kipkaji Benjamin, we have Kibutuli Rasoa. Then finally, my name is Franklin Kimaru. In this Greek, I'm going to take the introduction of the Greek civilization. And we are saying that in Sparta and Athens were the most of the two influential city-states in ancient Greece. Sparta was located in the southern part of the Peloponnese, and ancient Athens were located in the northern part of the Peloponnese. Both the city-states had a strong sense of identity and culture, as we have seen earlier that they had a strong sense of military power and discipline. So in this Sparta and Athens, the Sparta focused majorly on the militarism, while Athens was known for its art and culture. The two city-states were rivals during the Peloponnesian War, but they eventually came to an agreement and formed Peloponnesian League. Then, Sparta and Athens had major influence in ancient Greece, from their political and military tactics to their art and architecture. Sparta was known for fierce military power, focused on training citizens for war, while Athens were known for its strong focus on democratic government, philosophy, and arts. Now, there are some of the features that led to the formation of these Greek societies. Now, the first feature is that access to water. This access to water constituted links to various rivers. So these rivers acted as space for exploration and trading. So they were able to travel to major parts, leading the development of these two Greek societies. The second one is mountainous terrain. Now, a mountainous terrain is in a place that cannot be accessed. So that means that these mountainous terrains will enable the states to be independent by each other. These mountainous terrains separated both the communities, thus leading to the development of these two states independently. Then we are going to look at I'm going to look at the Athens as part of this civilization. Majorly women did not enjoy same rights, privileges as males, and they were treated as lower in the system. Now, the city-state of Athens was the birthplace of many significant ideas. They were thoughtful people. Athens were thoughtful people who enjoyed systematic study of subjects such as science, philosophy, history, just to mention but a few. The Athenian placed a heavy emphasis on arts, architecture, as I've said earlier, and maybe literature. They built thousands of temples and statues that embodied their outstanding beauty. The term classical, as used in this civilization, is used to describe enduring style of art and architecture. That is the meaning of the term classical. Athens enjoyed democratic form of government.
Okay, I'm going to take you through Sparta. Military might in Sparta. Life in Sparta was vastly different from life in Athens. Located in the southern part of Greece on the Peloponnese Peninsula, the city-states of Sparta developed a militaristic society ruled by two kings, an oligarchy or small group that exercised political control. The Greek god of war was called Ares, was particularly fitting patron for Sparta, which was known to be a rather warlike society. When they were fighting another city-state, Spartans were honing their military skills in preparation for the next battle. Early in the history, a violent and bloody slave revolt caused the Spartans to change their society. Sparta had drafted a harsh set of laws that required total dedication to the state. The law's goal was to train citizens to become ardent soldiers so that they could fight off potential enemies or slave revolts. The resulting was a rigid lifestyle, unlike any seen in Greece at the time. The devotion of Spartans to develop a military state left little time for the art or literature. A Spartan baby had to be hardy and healthy. To test a baby's strength, parents will leave their child on a mountain overnight to see if it could survive on its own until the next morning. By age 7, Spartan boys were taken from their families and underwent severe military training. They wore uniforms at all times, ate small meals of plant foods, exercised barefoot, and toughened their feet, and were punished severely for disobedient behavior. Boys lived away from their families in barracks until the age of 30, even after they were married. Men were expected to be ready to serve in the military until they were 60 years old.
Hello, my name is Ronald Benjamin, and I'm going to discuss with you about some political differences and similarities about the Greeks and Athens civilization. Under this, Sparta and Athens were two of the most prominent city-states in ancient Greece. And while they share many similarities, their political differences differed significantly. Here are some similarities and differences between Sparta and Athens in terms of their political system. So let us first begin with the political similarities. So here we can say both Sparta and Athens were city-states with their own government, laws, and cultures. They both had a system of government that was based on citizenship, with only freeborn men being eligible to participate in politics. Another point is that they both had a system of government that includes an assembly, councils, officials who were responsible for making decisions and administering laws. So let us now go to some political differences about these two civilizations. And the first difference is that Athens was a more democracy where citizens had powers to vote and make decisions. While for the case of Sparta, oligarchy, they used to practice what we call oligarchy. This is where a small group of elite citizens held all on the power. And another say the difference is that in Athens, the government was run by an elected officials who were chosen by citizens. But for the case of Sparta, it was in an opposite way. So let us now go to some economic differences and similarities. So let us begin with similarities. So we can say that both were practicing agriculture. And when we look about they were practicing in agriculture, we can say that both Sparta and Athens had relied heavily on agriculture as the basis of their economies. We can say that the land was the most valuable in both assets and both city-state, and the farmers were the backbone of their economies. So we can now continue with some differences in terms of economy. So let us see the first difference being for this is what we call slavery. Under this, we can say that Athens relies heavily on slave labor, while in Sparta they did not. Slaves in Athens were used for a variety of tasks, and these tasks including we have for the case of mining, we have agriculture, we have domestic works in Sparta. But on the other hand, they did not have a large number of slaves. Instead, they just relied on its own citizenship. So let us see the point number 2, which is industry. In this point, we can say that Athens had a thriving manufacturing industry, producing pottery and textile and other goods for trade. But in Sparta, we can say that they did not have a manufacturing industry, but they just relied on military powers to maintain its position in the ancient world. And the difference number 3 is about the education. In this part, we can also say that Athens placed a higher value on education and work was known for its philosophers, we have artists, and some intellectuals. In contrast, in Sparta were placed more emphasis on military training and physical fitness with the goals of producing a strong standing army for its soldiers. And the last difference is about the wealth. In this case, Athens were more affluent city-state than Sparta, with a large middle class and more overall. Sparta, on the other hand, was work for known its strict and social hierarchy. This we can say that the ruling class, the pirates, were the one who was owning the wealth and land for the state.
Hello, I'm Kivutuli Rasoa, and I'm going to take you through the role of women in Sparta. First, Herodotus records that a small girl, she advised her father Cleomenes to resist a bribe, and she was later said to be responsible for opening a warning that the Persian forces were about to invade Greece. So after the Spartan generals did not open a wooden tablet covered in wax, she ordered them to clear the wax, revealing the warning. The next point, Plutarch's Moralia contains a collection of sayings of Spartan women, including a laconic quip attributed to Gorgo. When asked by a woman from Attica why Spartan women were the only women in the world who could rule men, she replied, "Because we are the only women who are mothers of men." Like in Sparta, the women were considered as mothers of their men. And the third point, in the year 396, Cynisca, sister of the Eurypontid king Agesilaus II, became the first woman in Greece to win an Olympic chariot race. And then I'm going to talk about role of women in Athens. And the first point, female children in classical Athens were not formally educated. Rather, their mothers would have taught them the skills they would need to run a household. So, in these women in Athens, they take part in household chores like cooking, cleaning the kitchen, serving food to their husbands, and etc. And the second point, they married young, often too much older men. Like you can get, for example, a woman has 18 years and the man can have at around 30 years marrying the young woman. And when they married, Athenian women had two main roles: to bear children, like at least to have a family, and to run the household. And the household, I have said, it contains activities like sweeping the compound, cleaning in the kitchen, serving food to their husbands, taking care of their children. And the third point, the ideal Athenian women did not go out in public or interact with men. They were not to relate like with other people, like for example, for example, like the manners which celebrities do. They were supposed to be loyal and behave well to their husbands. So, though this ideology of seclusion would only have been practical in wealthy families. And the next point, in most households, women were needed to carry out tasks such as going to the market and drawing water for cooking or washing, which required a lot of time outside the house where interactions with men were possible. So they can interact with men when they have gone to fetch water in the river or in the market. And the next point, the differences between Athens and Sparta. So the next difference between Athens and Sparta eventually led to war between two city-states known as the Peloponnesian War. Both Sparta and Athens gathered allies and fought on and off for decades because no single city-state was strong enough to conquer the others. And in conclusion, I can say that the Athens were open system while the Sparta were in closed system.